Hello and welcome. Good evening to all our viewers joining me this time live on Strat News Global and of course bharatshakti.in Twitter handle. I have some updates from Ladakh. The latest, of course, the statement coming from Ministry of External Affairs, Indian Ministry of External Affairs, where it has spoken about how the Chinese have indulged in a provocative action even last night on 31st of August. But let me come to what has happened in Ladakh through the day before getting into the sequence of events since Saturday night, early Sunday morning. So, one of the first updates is that the talks went on for a long time at the brigade commander's level, day-long talk, but we do not know what the outcome was. Perhaps the outcome would be known tomorrow, or maybe both sides are waiting for the outcomes to be executed or implemented. But one of the things that happened was that the talks actually came after a tense night last night, which is in keeping with what the Ministry of External Affairs has just released a statement saying the Chinese indulged in a provocative action on 31st night. And of course, then the talks happened between the brigade commanders. What the tension was is still not known fully. And I'm holding back some of the information because the information is not verified. And I do not want to speculate on such a sensitive matter. But let's go back to some of the things that we know for sure. And one of the first things that one knows since Saturday night, Sunday morning, is that India has not intruded into Chinese territory. Some reports have suggested that India has gone into 4 kilometers into Chinese territory. These reports are untrue. Indian deployment is into its own side of the line of actual control. And it's not true that India has gone and occupied some territories or some peaks which are considered Chinese. So that is something that I can confirm after speaking to several sources, both here in Delhi and in the Northern Command or in Ladakh. One of the other important things to note here is that Richinla Ridge or Richinla Pass, which has been spoken about by the Chinese spokeswoman this morning, embassy spokeswoman this morning in a statement, accusing India of being provocative and also being aggressive, is held by the Indian troops who climbed the peaks, not just Richinla, but the entire ridge line, which I'll speak about in a moment, on Sunday morning, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. The sequence of events is like this: that substantial number, I am holding back the number for reasons of security, substantial number of Indian infantrymen climbed up to a ridge line starting from south bank of Pengang So to the Spangur So, which is another lake not too far away from Chushul. And that's where the entire ridge line was climbed in about 3 hours' time by extremely fit and motivated Indian infantrymen, and of course supported by other arms. That the Indian deployment took place on the ridge line starting from south bank of Pengang So to the Spangur So. Why this happened is because India got four things right in its action, preemptive action, defensive action, as the military sources have described, and they are in sequence. That India's tactical intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance ability or capability worked very effectively. That means the watch that was being kept by India's ISR capability, or the eyes and ears in that area of Chushul and Spangur Gap, where the meeting takes place between the brigade commanders or the corps commanders, worked very effectively. So on the night of Saturday, that is 29th of August, Indian ISR capability detected some heavy movement of vehicles on the Chinese side, and realizing that the Chinese were trying to do what they had done earlier in during this standoff in May, June, trying to come into unheld areas, unoccupied areas. The Indian commanders, Indian planners had already wargamed this situation that the moment the Chinese showed their intent of moving into these areas, India preempted the move by moving a substantial force which climbed the peaks from a base of about 12,000 feet. They climbed right up to about 16,000 feet. So, as soon as the intelligence came, India preempted the move by holding the ridge line, as I mentioned, from south of Pangangso Lake to the Spangur Lake. In that night, in that period of Saturday night, Sunday morning, it also shows that the physical fitness of the Indian soldiers was is far better than the PLA soldiers, because even the PLA soldiers tried to climb the ridge line from their side after they noticed that India was also moving, and Indian soldiers literally outran the PLA soldiers and occupied the heights across the entire ridge line in that Chushul Spangur area. The fourth thing that I want to tell you is that there was no physical clash or physical fisticuffs or even a face-off between troops on either side. The Indian soldiers are right on the top of the ridgeline. The Chinese soldiers are now on the slopes on the Chinese side of the LAC, or beyond the LAC in the Chinese area, or Chinese Chinese held area, and India has gained upper hand in this entire area overlooking the Spangur garrison, which is on the Chinese side, of course, and which is a very uh, embarrassing moment for the PLA, because this tactic they have adopted over the years, and even during this standoff, that they initiated this move and would occupy unheld areas whenever they have tried to intrude into Indian areas. This time, India did not initiate the move, but the moment the Chinese initiated the move or showed signs of initiating an intrusion or occupation of certain sensitive and important, tactically important areas, India outran them in a sense, and has gone up to the ridge line, which now the Chinese are trying to negotiate with the Indians that please go back to earlier deployments that you had, and that Chinese are accusing India of intruding into the Chinese area, but which is, as I said at the beginning of this program, that it is untrue. India is very much on its own side of the line of actual control. The line of actual control runs along the watershed in this area, as I mentioned, from the south of Pangangso to the Spangur Lake, and India is holding on to those lines. They're in sufficiently large numbers on those heights, which is deterring the Chinese from climbing up those heights from their side. Chinese, of course, Chinese PLA soldiers are holding two features. One is the blacktop feature, it's called blacktop by both sides, and helmet, but which is nothing to do with this ridgeline that I spoke about, the extended ridgeline which India has occupied. And Richinla or the Richin Pass is something that the Chinese are very worried about, because that gives India a peek into the Chinese side and gives India a tactical advantage. If you have seen the Ministry of External Affairs statement, which has just been released, even the Ministry of External Affairs has clarified that the Indian action was defensive in nature. Army sources have told me that the troops who are stationed and who are deployed on those heights or on those along that ridge line are showing no signs of any belligerence towards the PLA, because there is no face-off, one. And two, India has made it very clear that it has no intentions to go beyond where they are right now. But it has no intentions to also back down until the Chinese agree to certain conditions that India may have put. I'm not privy to what conditions India has put in those talks, but this is a fact that India has gone up to the ridgeline, has preempted, and all arms all kinds of infantry units have been participating in this operation, which began, as I mentioned, around 2:30 in the morning of Sunday, that is 30th of August, and has continued since then. They are well stationed, well fed, well armed, and well equipped with whatever necessary backup they require, and of course have occupied very advantageous positions along that ridge line. Remember, whoever occupies the heights has the advantage in the mountains, and India has turned the tables in this instance, having learned the lesson from whatever the Chinese have been trying to do over the past 3 or 4 months in in Ladakh. And I think the Chinese have been not only been surprised but also quite embarrassed about it. And therefore, there is a mix of aggressive, belligerent statements from their spokespersons, from the Western Theatre Commander or the Western Theatre Command spokesperson, and also kind of a conciliatory statement given by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Paris while he was speaking to a think tank this morning, where he says that the LAC or the boundary is not demarcated, it is not settled, therefore there are bound to be problems, and we are willing to talk, which even India has been saying for some time. Even today's statement by the MEA actually says the same thing, and I want to read out portions of that statement that has been put out by the MEA not too long ago, which is something that I will just read out to you in a moment's time. In fact, it says, here it is. It says, let me read out some of it. As you are aware, India and China have been closely engaged through diplomatic and military channels over the past 3 months to resolve the situation along the India-China border. Then it says, the Chinese side, however, violated this understanding and engaged in provocative military maneuvers in the late night of 29th and on 30th August in an attempt to change the status quo in the south bank of Pangang Lake. As stated yesterday by Indian Army, the Indian side responded to these provocative actions and took appropriate defensive measures along the LAC in order to safeguard our interests and defend the territorial integrity. Furthermore, yesterday on 31st August, even as the ground commanders of the two sides were in discussions to de-escalate the situation, the Chinese troops again engaged in provocative actions. Due to the timely defensive action, the Indian side was able to prevent these attempts to unilaterally alter the status quo. Now, this is something that the Chinese did not expect, and therefore, what we see is what we see. The stalemate as far as this particular sector is concerned. But today's talks may have yielded some positive results. We're not sure. There is no official word from either the army or the MEA yet. We will wait until tomorrow to figure out what exactly happened or if there is any agreement. But the fact is, for the first time since early May, the Indian side, the Indian army has turned the tables on the Chinese and have surprised them, and also now holding on to tactically advantageous positions in that area of Chushul Spangur, which is south of the Pangong Lake or Pangang So, and has not only boosted the morale of the entire army deployed, or the entire army, not just deployed in Ladakh but elsewhere, and has given the decision makers an option to maneuver or an option to do a bit of give and take with the Chinese. What will be the eventual outcome? Nobody knows. But I just wanted to give you this update since I got some new information and authentic information. Thanks for watching. Do keep watching Strat News Global. Keep liking us on our social media platforms. Keep sending feedback. I can see several several comments on our chat box. But I don't want to prolong this program because there are other programs that are coming up on our YouTube channel and some of the articles that we put up. There is also bharatshakti.in, of which I am the editor-in-chief also, along with Strat News Global. So do subscribe to both our YouTube channels and keep sending us feedback, and I'll try and bring as many latest and authentic updates for you, not just from LAC, but also from all the other decisions that are taken vis-a-vis the current standoff with China and the kind of relationship that India is going through with China and with other countries across the globe. Until the next time, it's goodbye.